Why, oh why, does it have to be so hot? Isn't this the fall? Why is it so hot? At least you are in an online class and hopefully in an air-conditioned space. Hey, welcome back everybody. Lecture 3. Already lecture 3. Can you believe it? I don't know how many lectures there are going to be. So before I go and say, already we've done so many, what if I make 5 lectures and then vanish? What happens then? It'd be kind of sad, huh? Yeah, well, anyway, welcome. This is about organization. This one's about organization. And I thought I had a website open I wanted to show you. Oh, yeah, I do. All right, so welcome. I'm glad you're here. All comments, questions, everything on these videos in our Discord. And there are 2 classes watching these videos now, but, please keep in mind that Discord is an active and friendly place that all of you are, of course, welcome to visit. We're having all kinds of conversations there on all kinds of topics. Rhetoric, St. John's, social media links, music conversation, everything. Memes. If you find a good meme, please post it and save it. Show it to us. We would love to see your memes. This is a community, and it's your community, too. You are welcome to post anywhere, any question at all. And as you can see, one of the things I'd like to point out, look how nicely organized these channels are. Organization is an important thing. In the ancient world, in rhetoric, they called it dispositio. Disposition, right? We get that English word there. The way you put things in order, very important. And how you put things in order is very important. Before school started, I was lucky enough to go to a concert at Jones Beach. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. I went to 2 concerts, actually, this summer. And both of them were pretty good. One was the Goo Goo Dolls. I don't know if you know the Goo Goo Dolls. Maybe it's too old for you. But there were a lot of young people there, so I assume maybe you might know the Goo Goo Dolls. And then I went and saw Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh.
Which I thought was very good. That's a band from when I was in college in the 90s. But you might know Smashing Pumpkins, too. You might like both of them. So I thought I would show you a couple of pictures from the concert real quick, just to kind of prove a point. So this is Interpol opening for them. Jones Beach. You see, I didn't have very expensive seats, but pretty good seats, I think. Supermoon was out. And Interpol played, and they did a great job, and I took a lot of pictures of the moon and anything. But look at this. Look at this. There's about a foot of water in the pit there. This is as they're preparing for Smashing Pumpkins to go on. It kind of flooded. And when we're thinking about telling stories, what if I wanted to talk about this concert and tell the story about it? I might use stasis theory to kind of come up with some ideas and be like, definition, this was an extremely wet concert. Or I could say, this is not unusual for Jones Beach, and talk about the venue and how many times it's flooded and tell some stories about that. Or I could say conjecture. People weren't expecting it. Here's what the venue said. Here's what they said about it. Here's the history of this concert venue, Jones Beach Amphitheater. Could do a number of different things to tell that story. But it really just depends on what kind of story you want to tell. You have options. Or policy. How would they fix this? Have other venues had this problem? How would they fix it? So that's what I mean by telling a story for assignment 1, if that makes sense. I could tell the story of the Smashing Pumpkins concert if I wanted to. If I wanted to do that. It might be kind of cool. And then I took a bunch of other pictures of Smashing Pumpkins playing. It was a pretty good show. Pretty good time out there, Jones Beach. But this is what I mean by tell a story. You could take something as innocuous as a concert you went to and tell a larger story about it. Like, why did it mean so much to be there? Or if you're going to call it an outstanding rock show, what do you mean by outstanding? What's the definition of that? And how do you understand that to be the story that you're telling? Or how does the story support that definition? So all kinds of things to think about with that upcoming assignment. And I'm here to help you get an A on that assignment. All right, so let's look at this handout. This is everything we're doing today comes from Canvas. And let me make it full screen here for you. I had it not full screen so you could see how it looks. If you click on modules and then you go to the secondary guide to arrangement for public speaking, you'll see the document there. And this is a great way to think about how to organize your speech. Okay, so here are the ancient terms, then I'll talk about each one in detail. Exordium. Exordium simply means how do you get and sustain attention? How do you prepare the audience for what you're going to say? How do you set up the audience to be well prepared for your speech? Now, I can tell you right away, the best way to fail and to do poorly on this assignment is to start your speech by saying, hey, everybody, my name's Mike, and my story is going to be about the time my dad and I. Absolutely not. No. Do not do that. I'm trying to think, what's a good noise for that? If you start your speech that way. Devastating. I guess that's a pretty good noise for that. I think that maybe there should be a better noise. I'll look around. Maybe I can find a better noise. I don't know. I have a bunch of noises on this thing.
Is that your best?
That's what I might say to you if you try to do that. So do not ever start a speech with your name, who you are, what you're going to talk about. Don't start like that. You want to start exordium by setting up reasons why the audience should pay attention. What's the best way of doing that? The best way of setting up the audience to pay attention is you talk about them and why they should care, why they're interested. Put them in a scene. Put them in a position that interests them. Instead of talking about the concert, like, hey, I went to this concert, I could say, it was the night of the supermoon. I've never seen the moon look that big, and it just added to the beauty and the fun of hearing all these great songs live. I'm pretty sure you've probably been to a concert. And you see, now I've made a connection with them in a way to show them that they should be interested. It's not about me. It's about the topic and about what I have to say, and it's about the audience and the attitude adjustment that I want them to have when they listen to me, how I want them to change their attitude. What do I want them to think or feel differently? How do I want them to feel differently at the end of this? With the storytelling, that was my email. Sorry about that. I got to turn that off. Nobody cares about email right now. Well, maybe I do. No, never mind. It was it's a spam message. You know how email spam makes you think, oh, it's all about you. And then you click on it and it's really not about you at all. It's about someone trying to sell you something. But I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. Like, this actually has something to do with me. Absolutely not. They got me. But that's kind of the way exordium works. So you want to read all of this. I give a long, detailed description of it. But think of exordium as the way to make sure the audience understands the importance of what you're going to talk about and that they're prepared to listen to you. That means they're interested, invested, that they're emotionally involved in it, and they do care. Or maybe they don't care yet, but they see why they should care because you've hit them on some commonalities. Things like things all humans experience or feel, or things that we all kind of understand is a part of life and things like that. That'd be good. Okay, the next part, narratio. Narratio is where you tell the story in the traditional way. Narratio is where you kind of set up the facts of the case. So this might be all of the background information that they kind of need that's not controversial. It's not the part where you're really asking them to change their mind, but everything they need to know that's kind of stipulated. The things where stasis doesn't live. All those things you brainstormed in stasis can come into play here as sort of the background, setting the stage, turning the lights on, setting the table. All of those kind of important things should go there. And that's what narratio is. It's kind of setting up the background of it for them before you get into the really, really good stuff. The good stuff is partitio. Now, this is where you're going to go different. Everything might be set up in a certain way. And you could say, but it wasn't just a concert. It was the best concert of my life. Or it wasn't just a concert. It was an outstanding concert. Or you could say, this concert made me think that there need to be better plans for the changing climate, especially for beachfront venues, I would think. And then you could go into that. You see how different those topics are? How very different those three different topics are? I think it's kind of cool how you can use stasis and then use this idea of doing the exordium, getting everyone kind of prepared. It's what it's going to be about. Here are the feeling. Here's all the kind of ways of which this matters to you and why you should be invested. Then the narratio. Here's everything that happened up to the point where I had this realization and it changed my attitude. Or it made me realize that everyone needs to have a similar attitude to this. And I think that's just so important. That's just so powerful. It's a cool way of thinking about how to reach other people with your words and hopefully get them to change their attitude about things. So this is this is where you're going to differ and go onto your own way and talk about your own thesis. You can read this document yourself, and let me know what questions you have about it, and I'll be curious to see what kind of things you come up with. Confirmatio is the center part of the speech. This is generally where we make the argument, or you give the examples, or as we talked about in class, reason-giving activity. This is where you're going to give the reasons that support your thesis. Is it an outstanding concert? Okay, what are we going to need to know to prove that it's outstanding? What reasons are you going to give us that are going to support that, to make us believe that and change our attitude about it? We might already have in our mind that a band like that could never give an outstanding concert because we really don't like that music, or that's, it's just not our thing, or they're kind of washed up, or whatever the audience might think. You don't know. But you have to kind of prepare for that. And this is where you're going to give your structured reason giving, which we'll talk about in another video about what does structured reason giving look like, what is evidence, and how do we know what evidence is. The basics of this right now, as you're thinking about starting off making speeches for this class, the basics of this right now are going to be things like testimony of other people, testimony of people who the audience would believe to be authorities, that they're trustworthy and smart, information from reputable sources, such as the media, news sources, expert researchers, and people who are trained on how to read expert data, meteorologists, psychologists, certain kinds of engineers, doctors, things like that. There's a lot of different ways to be experts, and I'll talk about that in a video later where I'll talk about expertise, probably when we do the next video, which is going to be about testing evidence, which is very important. How do you know evidence is good? But in confirmatio, you're just sort of supporting with good reasons what it is that you want us to feel. And in a story for speech, feeling is good, but it's also what you want us to believe, or sometimes what you want us to change. If you want us to change our mind, very, very, very important for you to give good reasons for that. All right, refutatio. This is where you'll deal with objections from the audience. Think about 2 or 3 objections that the audience might have to your claim, to what you think is important. And whatever it is that they object to, you're going to want to answer that. You might say, well, some of you might be thinking that blah, 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 blah. Some of you might be thinking that, oh, it couldn't possibly be, blah, blah. Whatever those objections are, then you can deal with them and say, here's how it is. So in a storytelling thing, you might say, you might think that this was all my fault, or this is my bias, but the feeling I had was really da-da-da-da-da, as you kind of describe and tell what happened. Put yourself in that position. Think about the David Loy book, which you've been reading. Hopefully you already started reading that book. David Loy's storytelling book. He's talking about how stories set up a narrative that provides kind of defenses against doubting it. So what would be some of the defenses that you could use for your narrative to help other people see that it really is the way it was, or that this story really is worth our attention, or it really brings up a blind spot that we didn't think about before? So think about that. And then last but not least, the peroration. The peroration is very funny. There's a clip. I should probably find that clip. That would be great to show. There's a clip of President Bush in one of his, President George W. Bush in one of his debates with Al Gore, saying peroration, which I think is very funny. Oh, man, searches take a long time in my OneDrive. They give us 5 terabytes here at St. John's, but I haven't really used all of it. But man, oh, man. All right, I'm going to have to, put that clip of that video onto Canvas because I don't think I have the time to find it now. But now I'm kind of invested. Yeah, no, it's not coming up. I'm going to have to. See, this is why it's important to prepare ahead of time before you hit the record button. It's important to prepare ahead of time. So they say. It's kind of a big important thing to do, I guess. I don't really know. I only teach the class. But you guys should prepare ahead. Don't just, do as I say, don't do as I do. That would be important. And organization is apparently important. That's the title of this video anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely right. So the peroration is the summary, the end up. Don't trail off. Don't say, well, I'm done, or that was my speech. Hope you liked it. Thanks for listening. That's a great way to get a bad grade. Avoid that. What you want to do is something that keeps the idea cooking in the heads of the audience. It keeps them thinking about it much, much, much longer than your speech was. So think about ways to say, well, we looked at this, but still another thing to consider is this. Or this happened, and I felt this way, but what other kinds of events could have me feeling this way? What else could I do? Or does this really speak to why live music is so important? Back to my concert example. Whatever it is that you might want to do. I think a story is a great way to practice these techniques with stasis and with the organizational principles here in this document, these classical oratorical principles of organization. That's kind of an overview of it. I might do a video where I do an example of putting a speech together all the way through. That might be kind of a long video, but let me know what you think. If you think that would be useful, I'd be happy to do it. So that's organization. This is one way to try it. I'll do another organization video later in the semester with an alternative way to do it. But for now, what I'd like you to do is use the Guide to Arrangement for Public Speaking, which is available on Canvas in the modules and the readings and all that. So take a look at it, watch the video, read it, and then post any and all questions you have to Discord. I will be happy to answer them. I am always happy to answer questions. So please, please, please give them to me. I would love to have your questions. Always, always, always great to talk to you, and I will see you in the next video. Yay, yay. I don't know why I did that. I think I have actual cheering. I will see you in the next video. Yeah, you see? I actually have that. I don't know what I was doing, what I was thinking. Anyway, see you in the next video. Good luck on everything. Let me know your questions on Discord. See you there. And for those of you in the hybrid class, I'll see you in class if it's Tuesday. Thank you. Bye.